Episode 164. Get in the car. Hearing Captain Robinson saying what he said, Jake frowned and said slowly,
"She will not go with me." "Well, that's none of my business. But if I don't see you guys together today, I will definitely have high blood pressure and a heart attack. And you will be responsible for my death." "Grandpa, I'm your grandfather. You know how serious I am about this. You should behave yourself. I am sure it must be your fault again. Sunshine is a good girl. How can you be in a fight with her all the time? Why can't you just have a talk with her instead of fighting? Are you trying to kill me?" "Grandpa, zip it. I won't listen to you. You have an hour to take your wife to the old house for dinner. If I don't see you later, then I will skip dinner and starve myself."
Emma, the house help at the Robinsons, couldn't help chuckling secretly. She was overhearing the whole conversation, and she couldn't believe how childish Captain Robinson was acting. A trick like starving himself. But that was the one thing Jake could not fight. Everyone knew this. With a sigh, Jake answered, "Yes, Grandpa. Got it. I will not let you starve." "That's better." Captain Robinson hung up with satisfaction, walked back to the sofa with his cane. However, the more he thought about it, the worse he felt. Suddenly he asked, "Damn, how long did Nanny Harper say that those two have been away?" Emma thought about it and replied, "Half a month." Jake hung up and let out a sigh. After handing the remaining tasks to Miranda, he did not really have much to do. However, he was still working on his documents on his seat. After running some errands, Miranda went back to the office to pick up her things and saw Jake still sitting there. Feeling surprised, she asked, "Mr. Robinson, aren't you going back to the old house?" "Yes," Jake answered, looked up and said, "Ask Marcus to call her and find out when her class ends." "Okay." "Don't say that I'm the one who wants to know." Miranda said nothing. As his assistant, she was very busy. She had genuine errands to run, documents to review. Why did she have to do it? However, she couldn't turn the boss down. 2 minutes later, she replied, "One elective lecture left. It's about to begin." Jake nodded and leaned motionless against the back of his chair. "So, I'll ask Marcus to pick her up?" "Okay, good." After Miranda had just sent Marcus the message, Jake got up from his chair and said, "Forget it. I'll go." Miranda stared at him. He had changed his mind. "Don't tell her." "Okay." Miranda went out of the office, and Jake took care of all the files as slowly as possible. It still only took him less than 20 minutes. He opened his drawer, wanting to put the documents away. In the drawer, he saw a black cell phone. It was broken once, but now it was fixed. Nevertheless, it had been broken, and Jake did not intend to use something once broken. Putting the documents away, he locked the drawer and left the office. Holding her backpack, Serena went out of the campus and immediately saw the impressive black Maybach. She stopped walking and had an idea of who was in the car. When Jake and his driver Marcus were both in the country, Marcus would not drive this car. So it could only be him. Serena walked closer, and the window was rolled down. She saw Jake's profile, familiar angles, cold as ever. She couldn't help gazing at him. Jake turned his head and looked at her deeply and coldly. It was as if he was not paying attention. Looking away deliberately, she wanted to walk past the car with her backpack, but he blocked her way with the car. "Get inside." a resolute command. His voice was deep and mellow, so familiar that her heart skipped a beat. She did not move. He took a deep breath and said yet again, "Get in the car." She kept looking at him with a confused expression. Gazing at her, he slowly said, "Grandpa asked that you go back to the old house for dinner." "Grandpa." Serena pursed her lips, opened the door of the co-pilot's seat, got in the car and said, "Let's go." Jake gazed at her more deeply, clearly noticing his dark look. She felt a bit nervous, but she still pretended to be calm and looked ahead while tightening her grip on her backpack. Suddenly, he leaned over, shortening the distance between the two of them. She was startled and shrank back. Turning her head, she saw his eyes as cold as winter ponds. She unconsciously held her breath as she looked at him. He stared down at her, seeing that she was shuddering as if faced with an enemy. Suddenly, he noticed that his heart, which he thought had become numb with work, was whipped and hurting like hell. Was he so scary in her eyes? He could not understand what kind of presence he had in her mind. Noticing that his eyes had become dim, Serena was touched and surprised. However, before she figured anything out, he had sat back. At the same time, he buckled his seatbelt and started the car silently. They went to the old house and did not say a thing on the way. Since no one spoke first, it was so quiet that it was awkward. When they arrived at the old house, it was about 6 p.m, dinner time. Emma was putting the dishes on the table when she saw Jake walking in and felt surprised. She exclaimed, "Captain Robinson, Jake's back." Walking out with his cane, Captain Robinson was ready to scold Jake upon seeing him. However, when he saw Serena behind his back, his fury immediately went away. The captain snorted and walked towards the couple. Putting her hands on Captain Robinson's arm, Serena asked, "Grandpa, you wanted to see me?"
"Both of you, actually,"
Captain Robinson said in an upset tone.
"Dinner first."
Nola Robinson and Carson Robinson walked out and gazed at the couple intentionally. It was rare that her husband, Carson, was at home as well. Seeing his son and daughter-in-law, he felt quite cheerful. Giving his wife a little push, he said,
"Let's begin to eat."
The family sat down at the table, and Captain Robinson naturally sat at the main seat. Taking a piece of bread from Emma, he gazed at Jake and asked,
"Where did you say you want to hold the wedding?"
Wedding. Such a distant word. Hearing the question, Serena paused and looked at Jake. Expressionless, he glanced at her before he said slowly, "I forgot." She felt like her heart was stabbed.